the Republican congressman who chairs the House Budget Committee, the voice of Texas, with us on Bloomberg TV and radio. Mr. Chairman, welcome back. It's great to have you on Bloomberg, and I'm wondering what you see here with it, what seems like a dozen different bills to attack health care reform or extend subsidies to some extent. Is there any chance of a deal coming together between now and the end of the month?
Not one that's going to become law, Joe. Let me start by saying Democrats created this additional layer of COVID or Obamacare subsidy during COVID, and then they extended it for another 2 years. So they had total control of Congress. They had the White House. They didn't extend it then. They didn't make it permanent. They did make the green energy tax subsidies for corporations permanent. So they had a choice. So these are expiring as designed, just like every other COVID program has wound down as COVID is behind us. So the other piece that is important is the COVID subsidies and the underlying program, Obamacare, has increased deductibles and premiums every year. So the question should be, how do we make health care affordable? And at least the bill that was passed, I don't think it will become law, but the Republicans passed out of the House last night, will reduce premiums, according to CBO, by 11%, save $30 billion. Those are the things we need to be working together on, not throwing good money after bad and propping up a failed system.
Well, you know, Congressman, we've even had some Democrats on the air here who say you're right. This is a program that needs reform, but we also need a bridge, whether it's a year or two, whatever the extension needs to be, so people don't get bit when they wake up the first morning in January with what I realize are already higher premiums. But you've got open enrollment that goes to the 15th. Is there a world in which that could be extended and a shock absorber essentially could be put on?
You know, I don't believe so, Joe, and I got to tell you, my position is we already have tax subsidies built into Obamacare that effectively subsidize people at the bronze level at 90% of their premiums. So that's the subsidy that taxpayers front at about 60 to 70 billion a year. Now that cost has doubled when you add these COVID era subsidies. So you would have to do a lot. The Democrats haven't included any of these things, but you'd have to put an income cap so you're not subsidizing wealthy people. You've seen the CBO reports and the GAO reports about the tens of billions of fraud, the millions of ineligible people. So I understand some of my colleagues wanting a bridge, but the point is we're well beyond COVID. They designed these things to wind down and go away. We should focus on the things like we did in last night's bill, close the loophole that allows insurance companies to actually direct people to higher cost coverage plans that they don't want or need, and that will start reducing the premiums and the cost of care. And there are plenty of other ways to do it, many of which, Joe, are bipartisan. So I think we throw plenty of subsidy. Unfortunately, we're throwing the subsidy at the wrong place. It's to the insurance company and not to the individual and family. So we should work together to make ACA actually affordable, the private market affordable, and bring costs down altogether.
You saw the Republican bill in the Senate, inspired by Senator Bill Cassidy, that features health savings accounts. Mr. Chairman, is that an idea that we should be considering in the House?
Absolutely. We actually we expanded health savings accounts in the big, beautiful bill that passed. We should do more, again, to provide federal assistance to people, let them keep more of their money to provide health care for their families and not line the pockets of insurance companies. They're the only ones that have actually done well since the advent of Obamacare. So there's that. There's the health reimbursement accounts. It's similar, where small businesses can provide these health savings accounts for their employees. There are things that we're doing now that are just plain ridiculous. We're paying hospitals more for the same outpatient procedures that we pay physician groups to do. And if we equalize those payments, by the way, the outcomes are the same. If we equalize those payments, we'd save $150 billion, and we'd stop this consolidation of physicians in one big hospital, big insurance, big pharma. These monopoly forces are making the markets not competitive, and they are not giving the choices to the consumer and patients. Yeah. And that, at the crux of it, that's what's the problem is too many mandates, too many loopholes, too many regulations, too many taxes. We got to clean it up and let competitive markets do what they do best, and that's providing the best quality at the best cost for a product for consumers.
You're the chairman of the Budget Committee. Of course, Congressman, what are we in for here when you come back in January? Because there seems to be a little bit louder talk. And I realize Chuck Schumer was very clear. He doesn't want a government shutdown. But there's talk about sleepwalking into a shutdown again with a lack of trust between Democrats and Republicans. Maybe we want to park that over here from now, because I know that you're hoping to see regular order come back into fashion on Capitol Hill. Do you have enough time to write a budget and pass it?
We do. And what I would hope is that we could actually use budget reconciliation again, because unfortunately, Joe, I don't think that Democrats and Republicans are going to be able to work together. I think many of the Democrats, not all, but the leadership wants health care to be a wedge issue for November. There are others who want to actually address it. We have different ideas on that. But Republicans have the tool that actually Democrats use to create these COVID-era subsidies called budget reconciliation. It gives us the simple majority in the Senate, so we don't need Democrat support. We did that with the big, beautiful bill. Let's do it to make health care affordable, not just lower taxes, not just better energy policies, not just cutting spending so we can actually reduce the pressure on the higher prices and inflation. Let's make health care affordable. That will bring costs down, make life more affordable, cost of living will go down, things will get better, but health care's got to be addressed, and I think the only way to do it, Joe, unfortunately, because I think it's better when we can work together, but we shouldn't apologize for using reconciliation and having taking a unilateral approach as Republicans if we believe in our policies, and I certainly do.
Well, it gives us a bit of a sense of where we're heading in the new year. Mr. Chairman, it's great to have you back. Thanks for being with us. He's chairman of the Budget Committee in the House, Jody Arrington of Texas.